What's up, homies? Welcome to another episode of the Homeys Real Estate Podcast. This is your host, Anthony.
I'm Angel.
I'm a realtor.
I'm a lender.
I'm an uncle.
I'm a dad. There we go.
Yep. As we mentioned before, my brother just had his son, Silas. So congratulations, Angel, again.
Appreciate it. I'm sure you guys have been tired of just seeing Anthony by himself talking on this podcast, so I'm glad to be back.
Yep. We got a really good one for you guys today. So, or you homies today. So we're gonna be going over the lending process, right? Like, what does a lending process entail, especially once you get into escrow? There's quite a few steps. We detailed 11 steps that we're gonna go over. So we have our expert here. We have the question master here. Let's go ahead and let's jump into it. So Angel, what's the first step in purchasing a home on the lending side?
First step is what I preach here all the time is get pre-qualified, right? So, when you come, I'll break it down real quick. You bring your income documents, your financial documents. We run your credit, make sure that you qualify for the loan. Assuming that you do, we'll go ahead and give you a pre-qualification letter and a pre-qualification packet for your realtors so they can start making you offers and getting you in your house.
Gotcha, absolutely. So getting pre-approved, that's the very first step. And we highly recommend that you get pre-approved before you even start looking at homes. The last thing you want to do is waste time looking at homes that you're not approved for, or maybe you need a little bit more time to be ready for, right? So get pre-approved, number one step. Okay, next step, Angel.
Next step is we wait pretty much. So sometimes you won't see us for a while. You won't hear from us lenders unless, of course, you guys can reach out to us, right? But we pretty much wait till your offer gets accepted. Once your offer is accepted is when we come back into the page. And this is when your realtor will send your lender your RPA, which basically means it's the executed purchase contract that you agreed upon. And with that RPA, we'll go ahead and work on the initial disclosures. So you'll get a set of initial disclosures from your lender. Those are just breaking down pretty much like an estimated payment, an estimated closing cost, some documentation. It's a pretty big packet, right? Of course, if you have any questions with your lender, you can ask them those questions. But basically, the initial disclosures is giving your bank, your lender, the right to start working on your final approval, right? So once these are important to get signed right away, so we can move on to these next steps.
Absolutely. Okay. So once your offer is accepted, we send that executed residential purchase agreement over to the lender. The lender starts ordering the initial disclosures, getting that signed. And that's the first second step of the process. It's really important that as a buyer, you're signing documents as fast as possible. But again, you want to make sure that you're reading them as well. That way, escrow moves along smoothly. Definitely. What's the next step? Oh, go ahead.
So, and then one thing to mention too, we have quite a bit of steps here, 11 steps. And that's why an escrow process is 30 days, right? It's not because of the seller. It's not because of your agent. It's because of your loan takes time, right? So that's the reason I wanted to mention why the usual offer is about 30-day escrow, right? So, but yeah, on to step 3. Right after your disclosures are signed, that's when we can go ahead and order the appraisal, right? Also, once your disclosures are signed, or even before that, one thing to mention is you can also look at, locking your interest rate. You don't have to lock it in right away. You can wait, in the middle of the escrow if you feel like the rates are going to get better. It's up to you. Of course, your lender is going to advise you, hey, today's a good day, or today's not such a good day to lock your rate. But yeah, right after disclosures are signed, we order the appraisal, and then, we hopefully can get that back as soon as possible, as it is a critical step in this process.
Alrighty, so ordering that appraisal, Angel, how much does that typically cost?
So for an FHA, it's about $50 more than a conventional. So it's about $500 to $550. This is for a single family home. You go in a duplex, triplex, fourplex, they do get more costly, right? But yeah, so $500, $550 for a single family.
Okay, and then once the appraisal is ordered, what's the next step?
It goes through processing. So, the appraisals literally takes like 30 minutes to order, right? So it's a very quick step, but a very important one. And then immediately after that, or during that same time, it's going through the processing stage, right? So basically what that means is your lender's going to get anything updated on your file, and he's going to send it over to your processor, your updated file with your updated bank statements, your updated pay stubs, anything he's missing from your file, or she, and they're going to send it over to their processor. The processor, what they're going to do is they're going to make sure everything's there in the file. They're going to order, if you have home insurance, they're going to order your home insurance policy. They're going to, what else are they going to do? They are going to do your verification of employment, right? So we have to contact your employer, get a written verification of employment. They're going to be doing all that along with contacting Escrow and getting the documents that Escrow needs, right? So it's nothing to do with you, but it's something that the loan needs, that Escrow has those documents, right? That they're going to get from them. So they're pretty much gathering a completed file, everything together, making it look as clean as possible so you can go into this next step that we're going to discuss.
Alrighty, so then that was step number 4, is going through processing. Step number 5 is what, Angel?
It's a big one, right? So I mean, all these steps are big, but this is a bigger one. We get it sent to underwriting, right? So an underwriter is a person that reviews all your documents and basically is going to tell us if your loan's approved or it's denied, or maybe not approved right now for a certain reason, right? So you send it to underwriting. They review all the documents that I just mentioned, the escrow documents, your financial and your credit report, your assets, all that stuff, to see exactly, to make sure pretty much that you do qualify for this loan, that everything that our job as a loan officer is to make sure that there's no issue when we send it to underwriting, right? So it's pretty much just double checking our work and making sure that what we said in the pre-qualification is they're pretty much just saying that our work was correct in a sense, right? Making sure that your loan could be approved.
Alrighty, and then the next step after getting the loan and everything sent to underwriting is what?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we're gonna assume it's approved because that's our goal, right? So the next step is getting an approval, but it's not a final approval. We call it a conditional approval, right? So that basically means that you are approved, but we need to still get X, Y, and Z conditions, maybe from you, maybe from the title company, maybe from the escrow company, right? Some stuff for like a conditional approval for yourself. Maybe there's something weird with your income, right? So they may ask for a letter from your employer to just explain as to why your income may be the way it is right now, something like that, right? Or they may want you to explain past addresses at previous homes. Things like that. It just, the goal is to get the most cleanest conditional approval possible, right? That's our goal. And that's where processing is very critical, because they want to pretty much, make everything as clean and as organized as possible. It's important to have a great processor. But yeah, so you get that conditional approval. Your lender will go over that conditional approval with you if they need anything from you. And then along with getting the conditional approval, hopefully around this time, you're getting your appraisal back, right? And the appraisal is going to let us know the value of the home and let us know if there's if we're going to have to negotiate with the seller again on price, anything like that. But for the sake of, this perfect example, we're going to assume the appraisal comes back at the listing price, right? So we get the conditional approval and we get the appraisal back, hopefully around the same time.
Gotcha. And then how long is that typically? So it's around 2 weeks into the process that you get your appraisal back and you get the conditional approval? Yeah,
so it just depends. Every bank kind of works different. Some banks are extremely quick with the conditional approvals, right? And we just have to wait for the appraisal, right? Appraisals we're taking a little longer right now, especially with, such a demand for homes. Sometimes it all depends on the appraiser too. It's kind of out of our hand as a lender, right? We're not doing that work, but some come back in a week, and if we rush them, and sometimes they come back in 14 days, 15, 16 days, so they can take a little longer. But it's really up to the appraiser on how quick he's working. But yeah, it's usually around the 2 week mark, around there.
Okay, and then what's step number 7?
Yeah, step number 7 is going to be ordering your closing disclosure. So this is another really big step. Ordering your closing disclosure is basically, the closing disclosure is going to be your second to last document, right? And one thing to mention, I didn't mention it earlier. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I just want to bring it up. It's somewhere in this previous steps, you're going to have locked your interest rate already, right? So I just want to mention that when you lock your interest rate, you get a loan estimate that you're going to have to sign, basically just saying that you locked your interest rate. So this is all assuming that your interest rate was locked somewhere between this, before it's step 7, right? But so step 7 is you're ordering your closing disclosure. So to order your closing disclosure, you have to have a conditional approval, second, your interest rate locked, 3rd, your appraisal, your appraisal's at the value it needs to be. And 4, your homeowner's insurance quote, right? If you have those 4, you can get a closing disclosure out. So this is where we order this. It's the second to last document. The fees that you as a borrower cannot shop for, those fees will not change much, right? So your monthly payment's not going to really change, and your closing costs aren't going to change too much from what this closing disclosure states.
Gotcha. Alrighty. And then a lot of the times ordering the closing disclosure is referred to as ordering the CD.
Ordering the CD, yeah. Your
gonna...
lender might say ordering the CD. So that just means the closing disclosure. And it's a big step in the process, especially with the realtors. They always will ask, like, oh, when's the CD coming out? When's the CD coming out? So it's when the CD is coming out, you already know you're getting really close to the end.
Okay. And then step number 8, Angel?
So step number 8 is pretty much you're gonna go ahead and send in those conditions, right? So again, sometimes those conditions may have nothing to do with you, right? Maybe escrow conditions, maybe title, maybe internal with the lender. But we're gonna basically send all those conditions in, right? And then those conditions are gonna get reviewed one more time by the underwriter, and they're gonna give us the final approval. Or as in lending, we like to call, these are like music to our ears as a lender, and when we hear clear to close, right? So that's basically saying that the underwriter doesn't have to review your file anymore, right? That you are approved 100% for your loan, and we're ready to close on it ASAP, as soon as possible, right? So that would be step number 8.
Absolutely. And this final approval or clear to close is something that's really important to us as realtors as well, because there's 3 contingencies that are protecting buyers, and that me as a realtor and as the lender need to work together to be able to provide the best service to the client. And that's the inspection contingency, that's the appraisal contingency, which Angel already referenced, and then that's the loan contingency, basically stating, hey, the buyer, the client has gotten the clear to close. They've gotten the final approval so that there isn't going to be anything that gets in the way of them getting the loan funds or financing. Angel, what's the next step? Step number 9.
Next step is, more of a fun step, right? We order the loan documents. Everything's good. Hooray. We're getting ready to close your loan. And then, of course, once we get the loan documents, you're going to come in and you're going to sign them, right, in front of a notary. So this is the only document you have to sign in person, live in person with a notary. And it's a pretty big set of documents. It's usually about 100 pages, a little more if it's, more borrowers, just depends. But yeah, you come in, you sign all the documents, and that'll lead us into that next step.
Yeah, and then step number 10, Angel?
So step number 10, when you first open escrow, you have a deposit, right? So let's say you need $40,000 to close on your home, right? And the deposit's $10,000. So you still need $30,000 left to send money. Mm-hmm. This is when you will send that final wire from your bank account to make up for the rest of those funds, those $30,000. So it's just sending your final wire to close out your funds on your end.
Okay, and then the last and final step, Angel, what is that?
So the last and final step is pretty much the lender's getting everything together from escrow. Escrow's getting everything from the lender, and they pretty much balance out their numbers, right? Escrow's going to have a net sheet saying these are our numbers, and the lender's going to make sure that they match. Once they match, all the conditions are in, everything's good to go, they will fund your loan at that point, right? So the bank will send their wire to escrow to basically fund your loan, and then the following day, if you're in LA or Orange County, you'll record on your home and you'll be officially a homeowner. If you're in San Bernardino or Riverside, you can do it the same day, right? So that's pretty much the last step. Once you fund your loan, your lender's job is done, right? There's nothing else for us to do at that point. And you're pretty much, it's just a next day recording, like a waiting game, right? And you're going to be a homeowner.
Yeah, absolutely. So there it is. It's 11 steps. I kind of want to go over them real quickly to reiterate the steps. Step number 1 is to get pre-approved. Step number 2 is to send the RPA over to the lender and for the lender to get started with the initial disclosure. Step number 3 is to order the appraisal. Step number 4 is to go through processing, right? The loan goes through the processing. Step number 5 is that it's sent to the underwriters now and they're going through it. Step number 6 is to get conditional approval, and then around that same time get the appraisal back. Step number 7 is to order closing disclosures.
One thing to mention, I'm sorry, before step number 7, remember somewhere before that you're going to have to lock your interest rate. I just want to mention that I didn't put in a specific step because it could be anywhere in between those steps.
Okay.
So you're going to have to lock your interest rate, and you're going to get a loan estimate basically stating that your interest rate is locked.
Okay. So before step number 7, we're going to have to lock in our rate somewhere between there. Step number 7 is ordering that CD or closing disclosure. Step number 8 is sending in the conditions for the final approval and hopefully getting that clear to close. Step number 9 is ordering loan docs and then signing those loan docs. Step number 10 is sending the final wire for the funds. And then step number 11 is getting those funds to close and then hopefully recording same day, or if not, in LA County, Orange County, next day. And then at that point, as a realtor, I get to go to the home, deliver the keys to you, and it's your home now. Congratulations. So that's the process altogether. And do you have any final words?
Yeah, I just want to mention, this is obviously if everything is peaches and cream, right? Everything's perfect. Sometimes, there's still going to be a few more steps added. It just happens that way sometimes. But this is pretty standard. If it all depends on your loan and how it looks. You as a buyer, a borrower, But this is pretty much what the steps are going to be. It's really not as bad as you think, right? And it moves quicker than I think a lot of people think as well. Like in no time, like you open escrow and in no time you'll be a homeowner. It goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, it does go by pretty quick. Our typical escrow right now is about 30 days, right? So from the time that you sign and your offer is accepted, and it gets and get the sellers to approve, right, to the time that you get keys is about 30, sometimes 35 days, right? Escrows typically used to be around 45 days in the past, so they've definitely shortened up a little bit. But yeah, that's the process altogether. That's why it's extremely important as a buyer that you're signing these disclosures and working in a timely manner, because as a lender, as a realtor, we can only protect you as much as you're allowing us to protect you. And the only way we can protect you to the best of our ability is for us to all be on the same page, for us to all be signing disclosures and signing things and and essentially communicating with open lines of communication, so that we're all working in line. So I think that's pretty much it. Angel, thank you for going over all this. I know this is a kind of a lot of steps, but trust me, we're going to walk you through it as it happens.
Definitely.
And with that said, thank you, homies, for joining us for another podcast. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, you can always reach Angel. Angel, where's the best place to reach you?
At Your Mortgage Angel.
At Your Mortgage
on
Angel.
Instagram.
On Instagram. And then you can always find us at the Luevanos Group. And with that said, I wish you all the best, homies. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Hey, homies. It's Anthony. This podcast contains my opinions and is for educational purposes only. It does not guarantee any projections and should not serve as a basis for any purchase or sale in real estate.